Previously on Peter Masella.
After taking a Mediterranean cruise, I kind of geeked out at the Marseille airport, checking out some unique airlines as well as rare aircraft types before my A319 arrived from Paris. Then, it was out of Marseille on France's flag carrier to its major hub of Charles de Gaulle. The purpose of this flight was to get me to my next flight, which is what this video is all about, so let's get started. I spent some time at the Air France lounge at CDG enjoying some R&R, but it's hard to relax when you know that a Boeing 777 awaits you at the gate in the same building, so I left the lounge and made my way down the long concourse to board the way all flights with jet bridges should board, through a glass jet bridge. My seat is in the economy section, which is in a 3x4x3 layout, but at the rear of the aircraft, the fuselage becomes more narrow, so the window seats are just 2 across after row 44. That's one of the reasons why I chose row 45. But that's not the only reason why I think that this is the best seat for me on this flight. I could have upgraded at no extra cost to business class or a seat further up, but I'm so focused on something that will occur much later in the flight that I've decided that this is the best seat for me. Welcome to Air France 688 Heavy. I have 2 seats to myself, a window and an aisle. It's a cloudy day here in Paris, so I'm not too hopeful about the view after takeoff today. With a low cloud cover, we'll be in the soup shortly after takeoff, but I still have a seat on the left side of the plane, and I know that this is the best side to afford me a great view of the city of Paris, but that's not the reason why I'm sitting on the left side of the plane today. The majority of this flight will be over the long expanse of the North Atlantic Ocean until we reach Canada, then proceed into the United States, so let's get started. The tug is connected to this heavy jet, and we're pushing back onto the ramp right on time. We move slowly and carefully among the other traffic on the ground. We have a wingspan of nearly 200 feet, which takes up a lot of ramp space, and this is a busy and crowded airport. As we push back, the safety demonstration is played on every seatback. The A319 that I just got off of did not have in-flight entertainment screens, so this is very welcome. With the tug removed, we started our engines and began to taxi under our own power under the guidance of the de Gaulle ground controller. Today, we'll be taking off on runway 9 right, and it's a somewhat lengthy taxi to get to the runway. Runway 9 right is part of the northern complex of runways and is removed from the terminal area that we left from. But I'm not complaining because I've got a window seat, and once I return to the USA, I won't be seeing the mix of airplanes that are on the ground here in Paris. For example, a Swiss A220 isn't going to be seen in North America, nor is this Air Mauritius A350. And I won't be seeing this Greek Sky Express A320 in the USA. As we continue along, look down at the taxiway markings. There's a lot going on here, and the taxiway system is complex, and on it, arrivals need to be separated from departures. There's a lot here. Here's a Turkish A321. Even though Turkish services many US airports, none of them see the A321. A less common airline is Azores Airlines, and this aircraft type does fly to the USA. We're now transitioning from the terminal area that we left from to the north side of the airport. 2 pairs of 2 taxiways connect the principal terminal area to the north side where the 2 northern parallel runways are located. Every taxiway we take is because we were told to take it by someone in the tower, and I'm happy that I'm here taking in this route on the left-hand side of the airplane because from here I can see an Air France Concorde. Like all Concordes, it's out of service. This particular supersonic plane flew from 1978 to 2000. What a treat to see this. We're now passing by Terminal 1, which is built in the shape of an octopus. I've never seen this layout at an airport before. Despite being a really busy airport, we made no stops to our taxi to runway 9 right. Ground control handed us directly over to the runway controller, and with no stopping, we proceeded on to the runway. Runway 9 right is the second longest runway at de Gaulle at 13,780 feet, and today, we're not going to use the entire runway for takeoff. We're entering the runway on taxiway Delta 3 today. There's no need to go to the end. We've already been taxiing a long distance already. As I mentioned earlier, runway 9 right is part of a set of 2 runways, its sister runway being 9 left. 9 right is known as the inboard runway as it's closer to the terminal, and runway 9 left is the outboard runway. On the south side of the terminal area is a similar setup. There are 2 parallel runways, each labeled 8 left and 8 right. It would have been more convenient to take off on the 8s since that was closer to the terminal, but I really enjoyed the view that I got during my taxi today. All the runways are parallel to each other, but since there's a total of 4 parallel runways all heading in the same direction, different runway numbers are used. Runway numbers indicate the heading of the runway. We've got the 8s and the 9s, and the rules state that you can't have more than 3 runways with the same numbers. All runways are east-west, and no matter what runway we use today, we're taking off to the east due to the current wind conditions, which are favorable for this direction. Once we take off, we're going to continue our climb runway heading for a short period of time, then turn left to the north, then west. West is the direction we want to go in, since that will bring us to our starting point of our North Atlantic crossing. If you want to get a great view on takeoff when taking off to the east, I suggest the seat on the left side of the plane. Once we make a U-turn, left side passengers can see the airport we just departed from, as well as the city of Paris itself, but due to the relatively low cloud cover today, there's not going to be much of a Parisian view. So, other than the potential of seeing Paris and CDG Airport, why am I so excited about having an A seat on the left side? Well, if you watch my channel, you know that I have a very heavy focus on New York City, and even though this is a flight from Paris to Atlanta, the routing will often take the flight north of New York City, and you guessed it, the left side of the plane will offer the best view of New York City. I have so many videos where I fly to and from LaGuardia and JFK, but nothing from over 19,000 feet. I've considered flying out of Boston to the southwest for this view, but if everything goes according to plan, my Paris to Atlanta flight is going to provide those views after a long oceanic crossing. Between the 2 layers of clouds, we turn to the left toward the west as we continue our climb under the control of the local radar controllers. At this point, I would be looking for the Charles de Gaulle Airport, but it's just not possible today. Our turn to the west is comprised of a series of left-hand turns, which keeps us clear of arriving flights and any other air traffic in the area. Once we get a little higher, we'll be talking to high-altitude controllers that handle northern France. Specifically, we'll be talking to the Paris control zone. In Europe, we'll only be flying over France before reaching the ocean, and the next sector is Brest. Once we're over the ocean, Shanwick is the final European zone of control before the long hop across the pond occurs. It's not the greatest day for trying to observe landmarks on the ground, but it sure is majestic up here. I did get lucky as we neared the coast of France at cruising altitude, and not only was I able to see below, but I was able to see the beginning of our contrail since I'm so far back. Another reason for picking this seat. Yes, I could have upgraded to business class, but those seats are actually further away from the window, since they're bigger seats, and that makes it much more uncomfortable to look out the window and take in all the sights. Why not experience the joy of flight from the best window seat you can get? We're now over the Atlantic Ocean, and as much as I want to gaze out the window, I did turn my attention inside because meal service was about to begin. Here in economy, I was given a standard economy class meal. With a choice of chicken or pasta, I chose the pasta dish. It was sufficient for the long distance of the flight. After lunch, I walked around the rear cabin. Notice how the seats are in a 2x2 configuration at the back of the plane. It's so worth it to sit here. That was followed by a quick trip to one of the rear lavatories to freshen up. The lav was very spacious. After all, the 777 is a very large airplane. While cruising, I perused the IFE. Movies on a plane aren't for me, but this is a quick view of what Air France has to offer. After that, I once again got up to stretch my legs and found snacks were available to all economy class passengers. Most of the crossing was over clouds, but I was fascinated to see our contrail for much of the flight. As we reached Canada, talking to Canadian high-altitude controllers, clouds still lingered below. I began to become a little bit uneasy considering that I chose this seat for the New York City view, but the forecast was showing for mostly clear skies once we reached the state of Connecticut. The Moncton controller handed us over to Boston Center in the United States, and alas, the clouds broke as we moved along. I was able to see Hartford, Connecticut from up here. From up here, I can also see the state of Connecticut, Long Island Sound, and Long Island. New York City is up ahead, and I am all eyes out of my 777 window. The Hudson River is on the right, and the Long Island Sound, which turns into the East River, is on the left. This flight is successful. Okay, this video is now over. Just kidding. Boy, was this seat worth it. The views continue on this side. This is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and as we progress along, here's a view of the capital of the USA, Washington, D.C. It's time for a celebration with a snack provided by the Air France flight attendants. What good timing and good food. We now have less than an hour to go before landing in Atlanta at this point. Fast forward a bit and we're approaching the world's busiest airport from the northeast. Today we'll be landing on runway 8 left, which is towards the east, and under the guidance of Atlanta Approach Control, we're going to have to pass around the airport and swing back around to land. And again, I'm in luck because we'll be passing by the Atlanta airport to its north, and I'll have a great view of ATL as we fly our left downwind leg. This view will make up for the lack of view of the Charles de Gaulle airport. This evening, the weather is beautiful. Here's the Atlanta airport now. We'll be landing on the runway that's closest to us. We need to continue on further, then make a left-hand turn to get to the runway. As we taxi to an internationally configured gate, I want to thank you for watching this video. This channel is about experiencing the joy of flight by having situational awareness throughout. A flight from Paris to Atlanta is long, but if you know what's going on each step of the way, it can make the flight so much more enjoyable. For me, this economy seat at the rear of the 777-200 offered me a first-class view of so many amazing things. I'm so happy I got to see New York City from above. Well, this completes this video, but look out for more to come. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, I invite you to click on the subscribe button and hit that bell button so you get alerted when my next video comes out. See you all soon at the window seat.